Perfect. Okay. I needed to record to the cloud. Thanks, everyone. So this learning collaborative, as I was saying, is a coalition of national training and technical assistance partners who have come together to think about diabetes and strategies to address diabetes, specifically for special and vulnerable populations, underserved populations, including individuals experiencing homelessness, residents of public housing, migratory and seasonal agricultural workers, school-age children, older adults, Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders, LGBTQIA+ individuals, and other health center patients. And this learning collaborative is sponsored by the Health Resources and Services Administration, and it comes out of a national learning series that was led by the National Training and Technical Assistance Partners in the fall. This learning collaborative continues a dialogue from a national learning series webinar that we co-facilitated, the 3 organizations on this webinar, and which focused on patient-centered resources and included discussions about implicit bias, an overview of social determinants of health, and a discussion about creating patient-centered resources. And this learning collaborative will be an opportunity to deep dive into those topics. Next slide, please. So these are the members of this diabetes task force who have come together to think about strategies and create these national learning series webinars and learning collaboratives. And you can see all the organizations on this slide. Next slide, please. And the NTAP faculty and organizations for this learning collaborative include myself. My name is Alexis Guild. I am the Director of Health Policy and Programs at Farm Worker Justice. And I'm going to ask my colleagues to introduce themselves as well.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren. I work at the National Nurse-Led Care Consortium. I'm very excited to be here with all of you. And I will pass it over to Jillian.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jillian Bird, also with the National Nurse-Led Care Consortium. We're very excited to get to hear from you today and look forward to getting our conversation started. Thanks. Darlene?
Thank you, Jillian. Good afternoon, good morning to those on the West Coast. My name is Darlene Jenkins. I'm Senior Director of Programs at the National Healthcare for the Homeless Council. And I'm so glad that you all have joined us today.
Thanks, everyone. And so we are the 3 organizations leading this learning collaborative, Farm Worker Justice, National Healthcare for the Homeless Council, and the National Nurse-Led Care Consortium. Next slide, please. So real quickly on what these sessions are aiming to provide, and just to give you just some dates and times. So this is the first session, of course, and they are all 60-minute sessions. And really, with this session, what we hope to do is, Sabrina, please introduce yourself before we go ahead.
No problem. Hi, I'm Sabrina. I'm with the National Nurse-Led Care Consortium as a training program manager. And I just put in the chat that if you have any questions or need any tech support during our learning collaborative, just to let us know in the chat, and I'll try to connect with you and help you throughout our modules. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Sabrina, and apologies for skipping over you earlier. So thanks for introducing yourself. So today, the goal of the session is really just to provide an overview of the learning collaborative, get to know each other, and just set expectations for the next 3 sessions. And then the next session, session 2, will be next Thursday, January 27th, same time, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central. And Darlene will talk more about that session, which she'll be leading, but it will focus on implicit bias and cultural humility. And then the 3rd session, which will take place February 3rd, will focus on the use of technology and its role in health literacy. And then session 4, which I will be leading, we will kind of bring it all together and we'll talk about developing and implementing strategies, including an action plan, which we will talk about just a little bit later. Next slide, please. So again, this is session 1. This is the introduction to the Learning Collaborative. So the learning objectives is just to quickly describe the roles of implicit bias and cultural humility in the development of patient-centered resources. And we'll go deeper into that in our next session. And to assess, well, actually, this is really the learning objectives of the overall Learning Collaborative. So not just session 1. So during the course of the Learning Collaborative, during the course of the 4 sessions, what we really aim and what we hope you get out of this Learning Collaborative is to be able to understand implicit bias and cultural humility and how it impacts how we develop our resources, to assess and apply best practices for language access when developing diabetes resources, especially for diverse patient populations, and then to develop strategies that involve the patient population and to ensure that when you're engaging in the patient population, you're really developing resources that reflect the needs of the patients that you serve. So next slide, please. And we have a website, and hopefully you've seen it. So the task force has a website, chcdiabetes.org. We encourage you to visit that website. It has the recordings of all the National Learning Series webinars that took place in the fall. It also has resources from last year. And we also will be creating resources that come out of this Learning Collaborative and the other Learning Collaboratives being run by the task force members, and that will also be available on the website as well. So we certainly encourage you to access that. Next slide. And so here's today's agenda. So we will be doing an icebreaker so we can all get to know each other just a little bit better, because the goal, again, is to really create dialogue and peer-to-peer learning. So it's important that everyone knows each other, feels comfortable. Then we will do an overview again of just the individual sessions. We'll talk about SMART goals because we'll be thinking about action plans and how we can take what we've learned and implement it in your health center or organization. And then we'll just do a quick evaluation poll at the end. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jillian and Lauren to do the icebreaker.
Thank you, Alexis. It was great to just kind of get a sense of why we're all here and what we'll do for the next 3 weeks after today as well. So we have this hopefully fun icebreaker to do with all of you. We just want to kind of get a sense of who everybody is with your name, your first name is fine, organization, population you serve, also where you're located. For instance, I'm in Philadelphia. My name is Lauren. I work at NNCC. And then the fun one is, if you could magically be anywhere in the world without any travel time or stress or worry about transmitting an illness, where would you go right now? And I was trying to think of where I would go, and probably the islands of Spain would be really nice. I'd love to practice my Spanish, be somewhere warm. Philadelphia is not warm right now. But thank you, Sabrina, for putting that in the chat. I'm going to take this slide down so we can look at each other. Jillian, would you like to go?
Yeah, I love the idea of being in Spain. The first thing that came to mind for me, though, was, so firstly, I should introduce myself. I'm Jillian Bird, Director of Training and Technical Assistance at the National Nurse-Led Care Consortium. And the first thing that came to mind was being on a massage table. Maybe not an hour massage, maybe just like as long as needed to get like all the kinks out. So sitting in this position in our chair so much in front of computers, I just want to like have someone work out all the kinks. But if it were to be a place, I mean, I think the idea of somewhere warm and restorative. I love being outdoors, so someplace where it could be, accessing nature. It doesn't have to have a lot of people around, and I always love experiencing new cultures and communities. So someplace I'm not familiar with, and that leaves a lot of possibility. Did I cover everything? Who would like to go next?
I'll go next. I'm Darlene Jenkins. And I'm sorry, Barbara, I saw your hand up. Would you like to? I can wait.
Okay, thank you. Yes. Good morning or afternoon. My name is Barbara Gonzalez. I am the manager for community health at California Hospital. It's part of Dignity Health, and we're located in downtown Los Angeles. And when you ask that question, so it's a place that I haven't been to, Bali. And I don't know if you've seen those videos, those pictures where someone's in the pool and then they put this huge tray of like food, fruit, all these different goodies. That is my dream come true. I don't know if I could eat everything because it's a huge tray, but that's just my dream come true. So if I could be there right now, I definitely would. And pleasure to meet everyone.
Thank you so much, Barbara. I am Darlene Jenkins. I'm with the National Healthcare for the Homeless Council. I am currently in Nashville, Tennessee, and it is a warm 25 degrees here. So if there were any place I would want to be, Barbara, believe it or not, I thought of Bali. I mean, the pictures, as you said, are just great, you know, and so I would be there or somewhere warmer. That would be my my place of choice. And instead of people kind of raising hands, since some still have their camera off, let's move over to probably still have the faculty introduce themselves, and then we can go with the attendees. So I'll just pass it to Alexis since you haven't introduced yourself as yet.
Sure. Thanks, Darlene. Again, my name is Alexis. I'm with Farm Worker Justice. I'm actually in Oakland, California. Our organization is based in DC, but I'm out here in California. Of course, we focus on agricultural workers, Farm Worker Justice, it's in our name. If I could go anywhere, I would go to South Africa because I've always wanted to go to South Africa. That's all. Sabrina. I think you're next.
Thanks, Alexis. I'm Sabrina again from the National Nurse-Led Care Consortium. I'm located here in Philadelphia, and right now we have some like really ugly like snow and rain going on. So it's just been weirdly like cold, and yesterday it was 50 degrees, so it's definitely been going up and down. If I could travel anywhere, I think I've just been missing like being by the ocean and then the beach because my parents come from Puerto Rico and the Philippines, and I haven't seen my family in over 10 years there. So it'd just be nice to like hang out and just relax. I haven't been able to travel much, so definitely miss it a lot.
Do we have another volunteer?
Hello, my name is Javita. I am the care manager supervisor at Florida Community Health Center. I apologize, my camera's not being on. I'm actually driving to another center now. Again, I am from Florida, of course. It's not as cold as it is in Philadelphia. We're at a high 79, so, but I can't say it's cloudy. I can say it's cloudy, so the sun isn't really out, but it's still warm. Yeah. But I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be here and what I can take back with me.
Thank you so much, Jovita. Sometimes we call out gently, and if you don't feel like it, that's all right. If you want to put it in the chat, that's okay. So I'm going to try that, just so you don't have to navigate when to speak up. But
I think someone unmuted.
Okay.
Lauren.
Yeah, who was that? Please go ahead.
Hi everyone. Oh, was there someone else that wanted to speak? This is Wendy Dolfo.
Let's start with you, Wendy.
Oh, okay, thank you. Hi everyone. I'm glad to be here as well. I am a care coordinator and RN in for Valleywise Health, which is based in Phoenix, Arizona. And yes, right now our weather is rather toasty. I mean, it's not like the extremes that we see in the summer. It's very balmy. It's in the 70s and for the high. So, but I wanted to let you know too, I work for Valleywise Health, which is a large hospital system with outpatient clinics, where I am based on the ambulatory side for diabetes management and complex case management. That's what I do. So I've been on a lot of committees and work groups with, and right now our focus with upper management is on A1C, lowering A1Cs, and in conjunction with BMIs, there's going to be a connected effort anyway. But I wanted to just mention that I'm particularly interested in educational offerings that would lend themselves well to the Zoom or other video applications that we can use with our patients. Yeah, and just one last thing, anywhere that I could be right now would be would be the big island of Hawaii. And the reason I say that is, interestingly, one of our son-in-laws just purchased 15 acres and just got an accepted offer for land, and it's agricultural land. And there's like 60 something plants, 60 something, not plants, but varieties of fruits and herbs and all. I mean, that's what are already established on this egg lot, and they want to, he's so generous, he wants all of us to join him. I mean, our different families can come over there and build houses on this lot. He's willing, he just wants to do that at this point in his life, and we just may take him up on that. I mean, the idea of doing that, I mean, it probably in about 3 years is what they're talking about. But anyway, that's just came to me yesterday that their offer was accepted. And I grew up in part of my life in Hawaii. I'm part Hawaiian. And so I would love that, to go back there. And yeah, what's that?
Oh, I said, what a gift.
Yes, I know. He's amazing. So I'm going to expect to semi-retire, at least probably by the end of this year. So I don't know. It's not going to be, go straight to travel and everything. The nursing is in my blood. I'm still going to have to do it in some way, shape, or form. So, but anyway, thanks for letting me share my thoughts and get to know a little bit about me.
Thank you. It's so nice to hear good news and things in the future. So that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll have the video will be up next week, I promise.
Okay, that no pressure. We love it, but never feel pressure. Is there anyone also in the Hawaii area? Do we have anyone else that's like a natural?
Yeah, I'll jump in. Aloha, everyone.
Oh.
I'm Landon Oponui, and I'm the medical director of Na Pu'uwai. We are a federally funded Native Hawaiian healthcare system through the Native Hawaiian Healthcare Improvement Act, and we serve the islands of Molokai and Lanai, two very different and rural communities.
Wow.
If I gave you my honest answer to the icebreaker question, I really wouldn't be anywhere else other than where I'm at right now. I woke up this morning, ran the beach as I watched the sunrise. It's a picture perfect day today in Hawaii, and it's paradise. I'm humbled to call this place my home, and I'm very grateful for the ability to live here and serve our community. Nice to meet you all.
Wow. Nice.
So much. It's so great to meet you, Landon. And I realized that in my model, I didn't mention to ask like what population you serve. And when there's more than 3 things, I always forget. So if anyone who's already shared would be up for sharing, in addition to having shared their name, organization, and state or location, also the population you serve, or if we just want to kind of remember to share that as well, just to get a sense if we have any similarities with that. But Would someone else like to go?
I'll go ahead and go. This is Kelly Hollyman. I work in Portland, Oregon for Multnomah County Health Department, the largest county in Oregon. We serve only vulnerable populations, and in one of our primary care clinics, there's 92 languages spoken. And then at our downtown building, well, actually everywhere, we are having a large number and growing number of unhoused people that we serve also. Let's see. Name, organization, population, where would I like to be? I'm going to say, listen, it is overcast, damp, and cold, that wet cold out here today. So I would like to be anywhere sunny, warm, and I have to say by the ocean somewhere. I'm thinking Turks and Caicos, but I would like Mexico. There's so many places. I'm not United States. I would like to be out of country somewhere doing that and completely disconnecting. No phone, nothing. So that's me.
Thank you so much, Kelly. I think we're all just nodding our head. We would like to be disconnected right with you where it's warm, or with Landon, or you know, wherever we could be. That sounds wonderful. Thank you so much. So I
can go.
Great, thank you.
My name is Kate Dunn. I am located in Baltimore, Maryland. Work for University of Maryland Health and Recovery Practice is what we're called. We're a multi-specialty, like medicine, psychiatry practice, infectious disease, co-located within a large addiction treatment center. So the majority of our patients are on methadone, but we have patients enrolled in a number of other different addiction treatment programs and on all variety or non-medication treatments. And so we serve, so a lot of our patients are people who use drugs, as well as people in recovery, a lot of large number of folks who are unhoused, unstably housed, oh yeah, the place. This is gonna sound wild and I'm gonna kick myself for saying it, but I mean, we were supposed to get snow this morning and this weekend we got snow, but then it rained like a couple hours later and it disappeared. So I kind of just would like to be somewhere where there's actually snow, and maybe like in a cabin in the middle of nowhere where I could light a fire, you know, and not do a whole lot of anything. Probably unpopular opinion.
There's something very cozy about like the perfect snowy day too. You know, if you get all of that quiet, beautiful snow. Yeah, I can jive with that.
And thank you, Barbara, for sharing that California Hospital serves primarily Latino and African American communities. And the community health department provides an array of health education, including diabetes programs for adults and some programs on obesity, stress, vaping for youth and teens. So we're seeing some similarities and overlap. Definitely people experiencing homelessness is coming up, I'm hearing, in the population. So I'm really glad that we have Darlene here with us for these 4 sessions to bring kind of all of that expertise and hear from all of you to share with each other what resources you use and how to work with those. Would someone else like to introduce themselves next? You could also, if it's easier, you could put it in the chat as well. No pressure to speak, unmute and speak if you don't want to.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kelly Maines. I work for One Health Insights, and we're a small public health consulting firm in Idaho. I live in Boise. We're working with a handful of health systems on chronic disease and diabetes related interventions. Due to the fact that it is gross rain snow, I would like to just go anywhere that is a little bit warmer or up to the mountains where the snow is at.
Thank you, Kelly. It's great to have you here and have representation from Idaho as well. Thank you so much. We have maybe 3 people left or 2 people left who didn't get a chance to go. If you would feel comfortable, if you want to share, or maybe just one. I'm trying to, we might be done. Would anyone else like to introduce themselves and before we move on to just a little bit of overview of the content? Well, thank you so much for doing that with us. It's great to get a sense of who's here and where you'd like to be. If you weren't here, if you could just travel somewhere. So thanks so much.
Great, now we're going to transition over to give you a little insight into the sessions. So next week, I will be moderating the session 2, and we will be focusing on really trying to drill down on some of the strategies and information that will help you, hopefully, as you start thinking about the resources that you have now, how to maybe edit or revise or resources that you will be trying to develop. So we will have 3 individuals joining us next week. One will be Kate Bachman. She is the clinical and quality nurse manager for the council. And Kate has experience with engaging individuals experiencing homelessness, especially in the area, her expertise is in behavioral health. And so she'll be talking about implicit bias and how many times how we view someone, if we don't think a person will comprehend or is able to understand, we may limit the type of information. Sometimes it's conscious, sometimes it is unconscious, and that's unconscious bias is what we call implicit bias. And so she'll be talking about how those type of biases can actually serve as barriers to developing as well as delivering information. And then we will have Art Rios and Dee Dee Blanchard. Art is our chair of our National Consumer Advisory Board. He is in Portland, Oregon. And Dee Dee Blanchard is also a member of our National Consumer Advisory Board for the council. Both of them will be sharing personal experiences. They are both diagnosed with diabetes, and they will talk about when they were newly diagnosed. They both have type 2 diabetes, what happened when they were newly diagnosed, what type of information they received, what worked for them, what were challenges for them, and then give some recommendations as you engage and try to develop resources, what type of information may be helpful for patients with diabetes. I should mention also that Kate's going to touch a little bit about culture humility, how when we go into really engaging people, that we understand that they are the expert when it comes to what they need and what they want, and how we actually develop a listening ear to hear in that area of culture humility. Past the personal experiences, then we'll share some resources that the council developed with our National Consumer Advisory Board. One was is the adapted clinical guidelines for diabetes that we developed. One will be a fact sheet on diabetes and COVID. And the other, although it's not diabetes related, it is helpful because we developed steps for telehealth, how to engage in telehealth for consumers. And so both Dee Dee and Art served on a work group where we developed these resources, and we'll share with you these resources and how we engaged individuals, especially those experiencing homelessness, some of the ways that we are able to engage them. And that goes into the strategies on how to identify as well as to engage. So it's very, I think, important that we understand being trauma informed, how we actually engage and identify. And so what type of strategies can be used to engage in a very trauma informed manner. So hopefully this will be a good session for you next week. We're looking forward to having a dialogue. Please bring your questions, and you'll have an opportunity even today to share some of the questions you may have now that we can address next week. So feel free to share any ideas, any questions, any type of challenges you would like us to address on next week. And I'll turn it over next to Jillian, who will talk about her session, which is session 3.
Thank you, Darlene. And I have to say, I'm really, really looking forward to this second session that Darlene was just explaining. I think it's such a great opportunity to have individuals that we serve in the room with us in this way of being a member of the care team, a member of the organization. So I really hope everyone gets ready with their questions, and I'm looking forward to hearing, how utilizing the patient perspective can really benefit the organization, but also, assist in creating essential resources that we're talking about today, and that we will be discussing over our learning series. So in regards to session 3, wanted to really kind of dig in a little bit about this idea of continuing to be mindful of patient-centered responsibility to developing resources, but also keeping in mind this kind of real quick pivot and adoption and adaptation we've made to utilizing technology in a different way. Certainly regarding special populations that can be more challenging or could be more beneficial. And it's important to really look at that from the patient perspective and utilizing our patient resources to help inform that. Patient-centered care and patient engagement is this central component to the modern clinical experience and or the clinical encounter. And really technology plays an integral role in healthcare's ability to adequately respond to patient preference, their needs, their values, which are really the underpinning of patient-centered care. And all of those can very much guide our clinical decision-making. So we really want to start to look at the way that technology can be central to fulfilling this role and ensuring that care is delivered in a safe and effective manner. So part of that will be looking at patient-facing technologies. I want to also bring back the idea of shared decision-making, which was a topic that we discussed in our National Learning Series, which we've provided the link for it on our website, to really understand the importance of engaging patients and families in the whole perspective of their care. And shared decision-making and some of the very simple tools that have been relied on can be adapted to be integrated into patient portals with secure texting, things of that nature. Also looking at ways to improve patient and family engagement with other technology and health IT tools. For example, some people use social media and some people rely on secure texting, for example, one of the other examples I just mentioned. So we just want to kind of look at what's out there, what's being innovated, what are the innovations in this area, and how we can continually rely on our patient population to inform us of the efficacy and the usability of these resources. So, one of the things I'm curious about, and if we go to the next slide, if folks could share with us in the chat, what are some of the ways that you're using technology currently? Just curious to see if that's something that is already being utilized successfully, if that's something that might be in the implementation stages, and just to see if we might be able to have an opportunity to have some peer sharing around what patient-facing or health IT technologies do you feel are being successfully used in your care settings? Perhaps if you're not using any patient-facing technology at this point, are there some that are in conversation that your organization might be interested to implement? And also, if you are already utilizing this, or if you're thinking of implementing, what are some of the challenges that are in consideration for optimal use of technology within your patient population? And it'd be great to have some of that shared in our chat feature. If folks want to come off mute, if you have a specific example that you think our group would like to hear about too, please, I welcome you to take a moment to share, on that subject. And then we'd like to revisit this in our later sessions as well. Anybody have any patient-facing technologies that they feel are being used in a way that's would be a nice example to share? So the EHR patient portal with poor adoption rate and telehealth services with some limited access. So yeah, we're all really digging in around the challenges and the struggles with telehealth. And thank you, Landon, for sharing that. Our main issue with incorporating technology into our diabetes education program is many of our clients do not have access to technology. Thank you. Yeah, so that makes sense. It's interesting, right? When you have this kind of like business model and program innovation and all these great ideas, and then like the practical application is like, well, yeah, no, we don't have the access that we should.
Hi, Jillian, this is Barbara.
Yeah.
Very similar. We have, prior to COVID, all of our health education was in local sites like schools, community centers, things like that. With COVID, we transitioned to Zoom. However, again, our community is very underserved. So there were the first 3 months of, was it 2020?
Yeah.
It was just planning. We have to switch all of our education to, like change it so it can, be like instead of a 12-hour program, be like an hour and a half. But the issues are the same. Access to technology in many of our patients and community members didn't have laptops, didn't have internet. So that was a lot of that. We didn't know how to use Zoom. That was new. We hosted various classes and sent handouts on just how to download Zoom, how to open up an account, things like that. So now almost, what is it, two years later, things have changed. We still continue to do a lot of Zoom, a lot of telehealth. And I know especially with diabetes, it's more of that one-on-one, that hand holding, like really, because and I think they appreciate that more. We even ask sometimes of our participants, we have classes and they're typically 5 weeks long or 6 weeks long, an hour and a half or so per week. And some of them have asked, oh, can I just get that one-on-one? Because it's very personal, the issues that they're going through. So they're getting more benefit of that one-on-one. But yes, just like everyone, technology is it's a big issue and challenge for our community.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It's the struggle was so real, right? And it's still ongoing when it comes to particularly, I think the way that folks really want to rely on Zoom and video conferencing. It's like it doesn't really matter in so many ways that we've been doing this for 2 years. There's still challenges there for people to be able to adapt to this technology. It's not the same as a person-to-person conversation. So thank you so much for sharing that. Any other folks would like to bring up an example or any thoughts?
Sure.
There?
My name is Javita. Like I said, I'm the care manager supervisor here at Florida Community Health Center. We have actually started implementing what you call an RPM device, which is part of the iHealth app, Vitals, especially for our diabetic population. These are stuff where they don't have to come into the office all the time, but they still do their readings 2 to 3 times a day, especially in our for our migrant workers. They have these odd hours of the days that they work. They go in sun up, sundown. So it's kind of hard to get them in there on a daily basis. So it's just kind of re-educating our community on how to use the telehealth and giving them the devices that they need. So when they upload the information as they're speaking with the clinicians are actually reading their vitals there. It's a work in progress. In the past 2 years, especially since COVID, we've actually increased our diabetic population's engagement within the community. And have we reached a maximum? No, but it's a learning progress, and we know that we have to crawl before we can actually walk, but we'll get there. But those are the struggles that we face here with our migrant workers.
Thank you so much for sharing
You
that.
have the program on the chat, please. The app that you're using. Very good.
Yeah,
Of course.
Thank
yeah.
you.
And that was remote patient monitoring with the iHelp app. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jovita, remind us, where are you located in Florida?
Well, we have 12 different centers. Where I'm localized is at Okeechobee, Florida, but our main corporate office is in West Palm Beach, but we have 12 centers around Lake Okeechobee as it is.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is great. And this is, you know, the kind of way that we would like to continue conducting our next sessions. So really want to encourage this type of sharing, and then we'll have opportunities to get a little deeper into some of the topics with the next 3 sessions. But I'll pass it over to Alexis, and thank you everyone for your participation and sharing so far.
Yeah, thank you. And you know what I think is really interesting about this group in particular is so the three NTAPs who are coordinating this learning collaborative, we all serve different populations. Farm Worker Justice serves farm workers. National Nurse-Led Care Consortium serve residents of public housing. National Healthcare for the Homeless serve individuals experiencing homelessness. But there are similarities across the populations. And certainly it seems that also within all of you, you also all serve, you know, these various populations. And so I think it will result in some really interesting conversation and important sharing of, you know, challenges and promising practices that you've applied in your health centers and organizations. So I'm excited to get this series going. But in the first session, which is the final session of the Learning Collaborative, it really will just be an opportunity to kind of wrap up the Learning Collaborative itself and to apply what we've taken out of the different sessions and think about, you know, after the Learning Collaborative is complete, how can you implement, you know, any promising practices you've learned from others into your engagement with patients, and specifically around diabetes education. So we will be, next slide, please. We will be thinking throughout the various sessions. We'll be kind of keeping these SMART goals in mind. How many of you are familiar with the SMART goals? You can do a reaction, raise your hand. I see several of you are familiar. So essentially, since many of you are familiar with SMART goals, we'll be using the SMART goals as a way to kind of create action plans. And the action plan can be very simple. It can be focused on one specific topic. It can be one specific item. But we would like you to think about kind of using kind of this SMART goal framework about how the different things that we talk about, the different issues we talk about during this Learning Collaborative, how you can apply it to your health center or organization. So we'll be going through these SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. And so as we kind of go through and start working on action plans, and for that last session, sharing those action plans and sharing promising practices, we will be kind of using these SMART goals as the framework. So, and this will be available to everyone as well. So this PowerPoint, and so you can also keep that in mind as we move forward. Yes, and there's a Google site. So thank you, Sabrina. So there's a Google site, and all of the recordings, the slides. We also have a template for an action plan that you can use to whatever capacity you would like to use it. And it will all be available on a Google site that will be private. So anything you share, anything that you access will only be for those individuals who registered for this particular learning collaborative. Thanks for demonstrating that. And with that, do you have any questions or comments based on anything you've heard today? Anything you'd like us to keep in mind as we continue to plan the learning collaborative sessions? You can either unmute yourself or type in the chat.
Hi, this is Barb again. So I am beginning to work with our 30-day readmissions committee at the hospital. So we're looking strategies on how to help those frequent users, especially the ones that have unmanaged diabetes. So if anyone has any experience or any strategies will be greatly appreciated. Mm-hmm. And also I look forward to the next meetings. This is very exciting. Thank you so much for putting this together.
Thanks. And, I should note that the goal of a learning collaborative is really to have peer-to-peer learning. So we really want you to be engaged. We want you to share. We want to have this be a space where you can really speak with your peers who are maybe serving the same population or maybe a different population, and kind of, give that space so you can really kind of deep dive and learn from each other. So Lauren, do you want to talk about the Mentimeter?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Alexis. So we have this really, really simple to use tool that all you need is your cell phone if you haven't used this before, or you could open a browser. You could also just bypass it completely and put things in the chat and unmute. That's totally fine. But it's kind of fun to use because you get to see your answers up there. So if you can just pull up a browser on your phone or on your computer and go to menti.com, we will just go through a couple of quick questions to solicit your feedback and make sure we can make these sessions as related to what is important to you as possible. And so to do that again, we'll just go to menti.com, put that in the chat, and then you're just going to enter a code when asked for it. You go to 5258-4298. I'm always worried I'm going to say it right and write it wrong. So hopefully that's right. 5258-4298.
And we are asking these questions because, we understand that, of course, especially right now with everything happening with COVID, this is a really busy time for everyone. And so we do want to make sure that these sessions are valuable and that you feel like you're getting something out of, the time that you're dedicating to these, 4 learning collaborative sessions.
So we've got one so far. Thank you. It's also anonymous, so you can just freely put anything in there, anything your heart desires. It looks like usable tools. That's great. That's what we're hoping you all will share, and we'll give you anything we have. Share best strategies. Awesome. That's all in line with what we're thinking. So that's good to hear. I think it is menti.com and not with 2 E's, just for that. And then practical resources and strategies to improve diabetes outcomes. So maybe this question was pretty clear and we're all on the same page, and that's great. We've got 3, so we'll move on to the next one. But if there's anything you think of at any point about what you're hoping to get and you haven't gotten it, you're wondering if it's coming, let us know. And even afterwards, after the sessions, we are resources for you. Let us know anytime. So our next question for you, there's only 3 of these, is what would you most like to ask patients to help you do this work? As we heard from Darlene, there are going to be 3 patient advocates coming to our next session, and they definitely have different ideas about what they want to share. And we'd also just love to know, is there anything burning that you really want to ask, but you don't want to burden your patients asking them directly? This is kind of a great opportunity to just get thinking. And if you don't have anything now, just think about it now and just get that percolating. That's great. Yeah, that's so important. Their success stories and challenges. What's most important to your health and healing? Oh, I love these questions. These are just perfect. And I mean, you can ask your patients these things directly, and but also asking everyone, you know, so you can anticipate as much as possible. Identify barriers and motivations. This is awesome. Thank you so much. Share what's most important to them. Yes, patient-centered all the way. We'll just move on to the next one, but feel free to keep thinking about that, share it in the chat, or let us know by email. Our last question for you is, what is your health center struggling with most around patient resources for diabetes? You've kind of shared this a bit, what you're looking for. We can imagine is what you're struggling with or you're missing, but this is anonymous. So if you are struggling with something and you want to just put it out there and let us know, and we can keep that in mind. And we're also going to launch our poll. So you'll be doing this, and we'll also have a Zoom poll go at the same time. Oh, great. So culturally grounded and relatable resources. You're struggling most with like coming up with those, creating those, finding what already exists. And then also remembering to bring back, I don't know, does BS stand for something different? Does anyone know? Is that?
The blood sugar, the blood sugar logs.
Oh, blood sugar, right, that makes sense for diabetes. Okay, thank you.
Yes, log.
Logs, and then staffing and funding. Thank you, thanks for explaining. Well, that is great. Thanks so much for doing that with us. We will have all these, we'll save all these and reference them. Okay, so for our last, as we launch that poll, we're just gonna wrap up. So this is the evaluation poll that is in Zoom. I don't know if we can mute a little bit, but so this poll just helps us let our funders know that we're serving you, we're giving you what you need. It also helps us improve. So if you could just, it's real fast, fill that out. We really appreciate it. And then our last sessions, our next sessions, we have session 2 on the 27th, a week from today, session 3 on the 3rd of February, and then our final session will be February 10th. So they're just every Thursday for the next 3 weeks. And thank you so much for being here. We really look forward to working with you all. Alexis, do you want to take it over?
Sure. No, so someone just mentioned in the chat that they had just joined. So great to have you join us. And yes, the session is recorded. We had a bit of a glitch at the beginning. That was my fault. But the session has been recorded. And so this will be up on the Google site. If you don't have access to the Google site, please let any of us know and we'll make sure you have access to that. And you can also just contact us, any of us, with any questions. And we look forward to continuing this conversation and discussion in the next few weeks.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
See you next week.